Everything does not start with stars, celestial bodies, planets. Everything starts from undefined matter in the universe, born from the Big Bang. With the impact of gravity, everything finds each other, stands aside and merges into one entity. From the giant clouds, the stars, the planets are born. But that beautiful origin does not last forever, because everything will eventually find its end. The death of all things. The sun, the life source of the blue planet, is a star among trillions of other stars traveling in this vast universe. And like other stars, it was born from gravity. The core of the sun is nuclear fusion reactions, turning hydrogen into helium. The process of nuclear synthesis creates energy, the energy that warms the planets around it and helps life exist on Earth. But the fusion process does not last forever. The hydrogen core is limited, and when this fuel gradually depletes, the fusion process accelerates. The sun will expand and engulf the planets around it in a sea of fire. After burning all its energy and expanding to its limit, the sun becomes a red dwarf. Its outer layer will gradually dissipate and become a white dwarf, a bright, hot, stable star but not lasting long. The energy radiates cools down, eventually turning the sun into a black dwarf and no longer shining. However, the sun is just a tiny star. For larger stars, gravity is also greater and their expansion won't last forever. After expanding, the balance between the nuclear fusion core and gravity is lost. Now, gravity wins, and it will squeeze the star back, making it smaller than before, reactivating the nuclear fusion process. And so, helium continues to synthesize into carbon, then from carbon to oxygen, and finally iron. After creating iron, the fusion reaction can no longer emit more energy. The balance between the energy emitted from the core and the star's enormous gravity is lost. As a result, the enormous gravity swallows the star's core, creating a massive explosion, a supernova. The explosion from the supernova has huge gravity at its core, resulting in either a super dense, super bright neutron star or a black hole. Super dense but super dark. The death of the stars is not the end of everything. Gravity will continue to push clouds to do them from there. Nothing from there. New stars are born, but eventually, gravity will lose to the powerful force of the void, matter. The name humans use to call things they can touch, see, and interact with is just a small part of this universe. Things like gas clouds, planets, stars, celestial bodies, black holes are all baryonic matter made up of quark particles, atoms, molecules with their own properties. But when summed up, all the above matter only accounts for 5% of everything. What is the rest? As human understanding expands, we soon realize how tiny their place in the universe is. The matter they can't see, can't touch accounts for more than 5 times what they have. 27% of the entire universe. The rest, dark energy, accounting for 68% in everything, while gravity tries to pull everything together, trying to create new stars, potential life in the endless future. Dark energy is stretching everything, pushing matter away from each other's radius of influence. Eventually, galaxies will no longer be able to merge. Neighboring groups become distant relatives, so far apart that gravity no longer has an effect. And with the accelerating expansion rate, eventually, the universe will expand faster than the speed of light. And by then, even the stars will no longer be born. The remaining stars will fade over time, turning into black holes or dense, non-luminous dwarf stars. The universe falls into an endless black void. But that's still not the end. Balance is the state all things desire. It defines the laws of physics humans have discovered over the centuries. A fusion reaction that turns hydrogen into helium is also just because under the harsh conditions of the star's core. That is the only way for it to find balance. The evolution of everything to find balance can be summed up in one word: entropy. Like rocks dissolving in warm water, planets, stars, clouds in the universe will also gradually dissolve in the huge black pool of everything. Everything will find balance, but nothing can disturb it, forcing it to operate. generate energy, or consume energy. In other words, everything becomes a quiet mess as the universe expands. The distance between matter increases, and eventually, after hundreds of millions of years, matter will have nothing left to interact with. Along with the expansion of the universe, entropy brings matter to a state of balance, stable, and unaffected by physical influences. In other words, it will cease to exist. Planets drift apart. Stars gradually burn out. And eventually, when the distance between celestial bodies is large enough, gravity loses and lets everything drift away forever. And after billions of millennia, even the last red dwarf stars will extinguish. The universe will only be a chaotic, empty blackness, with nothing interacting and no more heat being generated. The densest materials like black holes will eventually succumb to the infinity of time, exchanging their particles with the ever-expanding void. Hawking radiation will pull particles out of the black holes, slowly. But over time, the giants of the universe will also gradually dissipate. The only thing left will be particles. And then these particles too will be affected by the expansion of space-time and break apart into smaller fragments. What was once a universe full of diverse matter will now only exist in proton particles. Whether these proton particles will continue to decay is unknown. If they do, it will take an additional 10 to the 30 to 10 to the 40 years to truly become void. If not, the universe will become a chaotic mess of tiny particles of matter, never touching each other to begin new matter again. This is the end of all things. A distant future when the universe reaches the final days of its life. If the universe took 100 years to be born, grow up, age, and die, the time humanity has been on this world is less than a blink of an eye. We are so small, and just like floating diced particles being swept along in the vacuum of the vast universe. In other words, when looking at the end of all things, we're nothing. But this is also a positive view. Everyone will die. But in that brief moment, not even a blink of an eye, humanity has discovered so many new creatures, learned so much, and stored, leaving for the next generation things that even the previous generations could not have imagined would be so great. We are nothing, but nothing is also something, and something is also nothing. One day we will die, but the things we leave behind will continue to be passed on to the next generation, just as we have received the essence from the previous generation. One day we will die, but we will live forever in the memories of the future and in the untold stories. After all, is the end ever really the end?